Welcome to the 359. I'm Roger Cheng.
I'm Alfred.
When it comes to smartphones, do you splurge or scour for the best deal out there? When it comes to Android, there are two that really kind of rise up to fill up each category. One is the sleek, redesigned, but super expensive Samsung Galaxy S8. On the other side, if you're looking to save some money, the OnePlus 5 is a premium phone that's got, got a lot of bang for your buck. So our own Lin La pitted the two phones together, and the results were surprisingly close, actually. And Alfred, I know you're a lover of budget phones and cheap things. What do you think?
Always get the cheaper phone. Always. As technology goes as well, like anything, just get the cheaper thing. That's how I look at cars. That's how I look at phones. That's how I look at computers. Just get the cheaper thing because it's like nearly the same. When I go to the pharmacy and I like buy aspirin, I never buy Tylenol. I get like
the generic.
Yeah, I get the generic brand thing because at the end it's like the same outcome.
Well, look, so actually Lin tested these phones out, and I mean, look, generally the Galaxy S8 comes out on top for things. And the biggest factor though was water resistance, which obviously it's kind of a big deal for consumers. But surprisingly, the camera kind of was a tie, which is another big factor for people when they're looking to buy phones, which is surprising because the Galaxy S8 could be $100, sometimes $150 more than the OnePlus 5.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, wanting to pay more for higher quality things. I completely get it. But it comes to a point where when you look at something, when you compare the photos, like, sure, this one might be better, like, slightly, but is it $150 better? Like, that's the benchmark for me.
Right. Well, I mean, people are going to be making that calculation once again in September when Apple comes out with their super expensive iPhones. So, super expensive
Just
iPhone.
Get the cheaper phone.
All right. Next up, we're going to be talking about a Cabin. It is basically a hotel on wheels that takes you from LA to SF. The only hitch is it's 8 hours and $115, which is essentially double the cost of a flight. Basically a round trip flight from LA to SF is $100.
This is a scenario where it's cheaper and better to just take a flight.
Cheaper and faster.
Yes.
You could argue that this might be a better experience because you're sleeping. You're enjoying a night's rest.
Our reporter there got no sleep.
True.
She didn't sleep at all on that.
Although if you look at the video, I mean, the sleeper cabins, the sleeper pods do look kind of comfortable. There's Wi-Fi that's respectable.
There's
there's that weird dream water that she had.
Yes, but you're comparing 1 hour to 8 hours of travel time for where you're not exactly guaranteed sleep.
It's less. It's actually a little bit more than 1 hour if you think it through. It's whatever the half-hour commute to the airport. You got to get there 2 hours early or an hour and a half early. And when you get back and when you're arriving at your destination, you just got another half an hour to get to wherever you need to get to. So it's still
right,
like 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, you're comparing that to 8 hours.
8 hours.
Like 8 hours on the road. It's
But 8 hours of peaceful bliss.
If this were cheaper than a flight, then I would totally do it.
Yeah.
But that's the whole point of taking a bus over a flight is that that it's going to be longer, but that it's also going to be like half the cost.
And
this
actually,
was twice.
It's actually interesting that they're taking an intentionally longer route because it doesn't take 8 hours to go from LA to SF. It's usually like 5 or 6, but they took a longer route to basically find the smoothest course so you have a more restful sleep.
Again, that's not why people like take buses though. They don't take buses for like the comfort of it.
They're trying to revolutionize things.
Yeah.
All right. Lastly, we're going to be talking about sex dolls. It's part of our Turn On package of stories looking at the next generation of sex toys. Our own Rye Chris actually visited a sex doll factory that is incorporating AI into its products. This is really starting to look like Westworld, isn't it?
I don't watch Westworld.
Oh, jeez, come on. Throw me a bone here.
Look, like I think it's easy to make fun of them, but they do have some like legitimate reasons for wanting these like sex dolls. There was Rye talked to somebody who was a Vietnam War veteran. He's about 71 years old, and his wife died in 2015 after they had been married 35 years. He didn't really want to go through like all the dating and all this stuff again at his age, and it was just this was something that was like providing him company.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of companionship, I mean, I was really interested actually in the fact that they're even investing in AI. The idea that you can, for subscription, create an online personality that you can interact with. This is right now, you can't even get the sex doll with the personality because that's coming later this year. Right now, you basically get some sort of online avatar, and it's kind of like Westworld where you can choose, like the people who kind of run the theme park can choose the personalities by hitting certain buttons on a tablet. This is essentially what they're doing here, which is kind of freaky.
Yeah, I don't want to kink shame anybody, but yeah, this is it's not my cup of tea. You know, wouldn't do it in my bed, but you know what goes on in your household is you know.
And no judgments here. All right. For those stories and more, check us out on CNET. I'm Roger Cheng.
I'm Alfred Ng.
Thanks for listening.
Yikes on bikes.
Am I getting attacked for my cheap views?
What?
Am I getting attacked for my cheap views?
I haven't even looked. I'm still kind of reeling from the sex doll story.
It's a pretty
Yeah.
remarkable story. There's it's a package of stories, a series that's gonna be running for the next 2 or 3 weeks. We've got a number of different pieces, including one from Alfred
Yeah,
later
it's,
next week.
Yeah, it's about how easily you can hack a dildo.
A smart dildo.
Yes, or a normal one with a knife.
It's not about
It's
that.
one of the
Stop
two.
teasing fake stories. Fake news.
I want to talk about the bus, believe it or not.
All right. Because you love sleeping on buses.
I want to live on that bus. I don't know what
I don't know if you
is.
could
It's
afford to live on
I
it, but
definitely can't afford to live on it.
I just travel between Los Angeles and San Francisco every day.
now,
constantly.
would you consider, by the way,
I am a different kind of road warrior.
Alfred, would you consider appealing to your cheapness? Would you consider that trip if it was $50? If it was
Yes.
half
Yeah,
of
if
the
it-
cost.
If it was basically the same price as a flight or less, then yeah,
You'd
I would.
consider it.
I would definitely. I feel like
Even though there is that it is 8 hours, it's probably you're losing probably 5 or 6
I
hours.
feel like
on
I'd
this bus.
rather do it because if it were like cheaper, just because like you said, like I used to take like
Because basically you just want to save money.
yeah, I used to take
Got it.
bus like from New York to Syracuse is basically 1 hour on a flight, right? And less. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's less than an hour. But
Spend more time taxiing than you do in the air.
Yeah.
yeah, so
Okay.
I always took the bus there, and I would like visit like
How long is that? How long is that bus ride?
It's 5 to 6 hours
Oh, wow.
depending on how good your
Okay.
driver is. And so yeah, I would take that trip like very frequently, and I would always do the bus just because it was like a quarter of the price of a flight.
Right. Yeah.
And basically that's the whole thing. Like if it's cheaper, that's what I'm doing.
All right. Well, I mean, this obviously they're selling the idea of comfort. That's
And their
yeah.
whole like overnight strategy, that's also what I did. I would take it at like midnight and
essentially a
I'd arrive
red
at,
eye.
yeah, I'd
Yeah.
arrive at like 6 a.m. and it'd be
Yeah.
great. I'd sleep on the whole bus ride.
Yeah, but is it really worth when you could get what would we find out? The round trip from SF
about
to LA
$100.
is like $100. A round trip costs as
Yeah.
much as a one way.
Yeah.
I mean,
less than
That's
one
my
way.
point.
Yeah.
Like if it were cheaper, then yeah, they have something on their hands here. But you know,
Yeah.
I'm not.
I think it's an interesting idea. They're trying to.
I do want to try it. Though.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think I would actually pay to try it once. It wouldn't be something I'd regularly do, but just for the experience, it'd be kind of cool.
I mean, isn't this something they already do with like the train though? Like I've never done Amtrak or anything
No,
like that.
there are
like
no.
overnight
I don't think
Amtrak?
there are sleeper cars on the Amtrak.
Oh.
Are there?
I thought there were.
I don't take the train enough to know.
I mean, I just took the train from LA to San Diego. I know for sure there were no sleeper cars there, but they had big spacious seats. They're it's a comfortable ride,
Yeah.
but you can't sleep. There are no sleeper pods
Yeah,
like there are here.
but I mean, I find it for whatever reason soothing, comfortable, acceptable to sleep. Like if I get on a bus or a plane, I am out instantly, and I have terrible insomnia. Have since I was 11 years old. I can't sleep for crap most nights.
Right.
But it's the sound, the vibration. I don't know. I'm on that, and I'm done.
Do you sleep
And-
on the
and
subway?
I have.
Wow.
That's happened.
I discovered new areas of the Bronx by accident one day because of that.
Oh wow.
But of course, you try not to. It's not
Yeah.
a smart idea. But
Yeah, not the safest thing to do.
My friend got his laptop stolen like that.
yeah, that'll happen.
So, do we have any questions from our viewers?
Well, Danny Green wants to talk about the phones. He says
Let's do it.
there is no budget iPhone. Now,
That is
that's
not
not
true.
That's not
completely
true. There's the iPhone SE.
Bingo.
Or you could be like me and buy an older iPhone because it's pretty much the same thing anyway.
Well, slower processor. If it's a used iPhone, then that's
yeah,
not
when
a
the,
great
when
idea.
the when the 7 was announced, I went straight to the store and I bought
A brand new
a
6S.
5S.
A 5S. Well, that's the thing. Apple's kind of cut down on that. Like, they've stopped selling the older versions. Like, you can probably get them at some
I
carrier
got it
stores.
refurbished, and like that's the
Oh.
thing. Prices drop even more when they like release. Like
Oh,
a-
yeah.
yeah.
How is a refurbished phone? Because I'm always a little suspect about that.
It's
I
been
know they
fine for
swap out
me.
the battery, but, like, I don't know.
I've really been enjoying mine, and
Alright.
I really can't like. I had an iPhone like 6S for work before too, and
Yeah.
it was just one of those things where it's obviously a downgrade, but it's not that much of a downgrade to me that like it doesn't matter that much. Like when I was talking about the car argument before with like these phones, like premium versus like the lesser but like equally good version. Like I look at it like when I'm in New York and I see some dude in like some souped up like Maserati or whatever like next to like a normal car, and I'm like, you're both going to the same place. Like it gets you.
Although
the
that
end result is the
Maserati
same.
will get you there a lot faster.
No, it won't,
No,
because
it
you're
won't.
driving in New
There's
York.
just
In New
limit.
York, all right, not in New York, but if you were anywhere outside of New York, that would be true.
I mean, I guess
Unless
there
you're in
are
the
still
LIE.
legally.
It's just so goofy to me. That's my point. Like I look at phones the same way, to be honest. I'm like,
I don't think, because cars are ultimately more of a status symbol. Like, you're right, you pay for the horsepower that you probably won't be able to use. A camera or a phone that's got a superior camera, that's got water resistance. There are tangible features there that make a phone
that's
better.
how I looked at like laptops too in college, when basically everyone there had like a MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
And like only maybe like 10 people there like needed it for like its processing power, like the horsepower that you're not going to use.
Right.
Because it was like all these people like, you're like in the journalism school here, man.
Yeah,
you're not doing
that's
any
true.
video editing.
If you're like a writer, I mean, a MacBook Air is pretty sufficient.
I'm like, what are you doing, dude? And it's like, I don't know, it's like the best laptop. It's like sometimes the best is not what you need. Right. That's my point.
Truth. Elite Brian Gaming wants us to expand and tell him how powerful is the OnePlus 5.
They both use the same processor, the Snapdragon 835.
It's also cheaper. Get the cheaper phone.
So actually, they're technically both equally powerful. So in terms of specs, it's actually they're fairly equal. Actually, OnePlus 5 gets edge on battery life. It actually lasts a couple hours longer.
Is it because it doesn't have the Samsung like OS stuff wearing it down?
Well, no, it's potentially some of the bloatware, but I think it's more the larger display and having to kind of run that larger display for a longer time. That probably cuts into the Samsung battery life a bit more.
Let's go back into the chat. We got a comment here from Razor2048. It says, anywhere in the country will have you bound with unreasonably low speed limits. New York recently lowered the speed limits to 25 miles per hour when speeding ticket revenue dropped. That's also true.
Oh, yeah.
Bear in mind.
All right, so if you got a Maserati and you're in New York City,
You've wasted your money.
You've wasted your money.
You're a fool. Like,
All
like
right.
you're gonna get to the red light faster than me.
Well,
Awesome.
I feel dumb now. I've got to go move
You
my
and your
Maserati.
Maserati.
Me and my Maserati have got to leave the city now.
All right, so elephant in the room, we're probably going to need to expand a little bit more on this whole sex doll story.
Sure.
As I look for something safe for work in the B-roll file.
Dude,
Don't.
sex dolls are always expanding.
Don't look. I was kind of a little nervous when you were scanning through the story. I'm like, a lot of that in videos do not autoplay for a reason.
We're gonna
Yeah.
get flagged.
We are
gonna get flagged.
They are explicit, not suitable for work.
For your own curiosity, there will be links in the description and the on-demand when this show posts in an hour or two, so you can go and explore to your heart's content.
But we took a look at this story because there is valid tech in it, right? The kind of notion of artificial intelligence and actually creating or aspiring to create sex dolls that you can actually emotionally connect with is, it's an interesting concept. It's sort of like this tangent to what bigger companies like Facebook and Google and Apple are all trying to do with AI. Anyways, it's
Also,
trying
this
to make a
has-
personable,
yeah.
not assistant necessarily, but someone that you can connect with.
Also, it has boobs.
Yeah, so there's that.
Wait, so are there male sex
Yes,
dolls?
there
Yes,
are.
there
There
are.
Yeah.
It's
They-
not
and they
just
they have
women.
six packs.
We only
They're
got to
buff.
see in the early parts of that story the female ones.
You scroll down, there are pictures of.
Apparently, they
men.
make custom ones too, so you can make it look like, like a celebrity or something like that.
That's
They draw the line though.
we're totally getting
they
creepy
don't.
now.
They don't do anybody that doesn't give permission to be replicated.
So essentially, they have like an arsenal, like a menu you can kind
Yeah.
of choose
Oh,
from.
so
Yeah,
like
and they
celebrities who
don't-
like
That's a
license their
terrible
don't
way to
do-
phrase that. I'm sorry.
they don't do kids and they don't do animals. So they draw the line on those.
I'm glad they do.
Yeah.
That's
Ugh.
wow. Yeah.
I'm curious to know how many of our viewers would try this out though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Light up the chat. Let's see if anybody.
Are you interested? Well, keep in mind these things are like super expensive too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
What are they running at?
I don't actually.
$10,000 if you want the one with personality.
Is that true?
Yes. Or 17.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
No, sorry. The
the
highly
customized one
doll
was
costs-
17,000.
Yeah, 17,000.
Yikes, man. I mean,
Or you can get the cheaper refurbished one.
Oh Oh God. Sex doll SE.
Alfred, no!
Oh. No. No.
Get out!
Stop.
Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, sorry about
We're
that.
really sorry. I guess there's interesting topics at hand there from a scientific standpoint, and I don't mean that in the internet pun
For
science.
science.
But at the same time, I guess who isn't morbidly curious about what's the phrase I want? Is there a terminology for this?
I don't know, man.
I don't want to just keep saying sex doll. I feel kind of weird.
Well, they call them real dolls.
No, that doesn't help.
That doesn't help. All right.
All right, let's switch gears one more time before we wrap it up for the day. Scott Myatt asks, how can the OnePlus be cheaper? What did we lose out on?
Oh, what did we lose out on?
That's true. He's the devil's advocate.
Marketing.
they're
they didn't pay for marketing.
That's kind of it. It's marketing. It's the fact that you can't really get a OnePlus 5 at a carrier store. It costs a lot more money to run one of these phones through carrier certification. So, having to customize for carriers, having to market, and Samsung markets the crap out of all of its products.
where a lot of the money goes.
Yeah, and the components are sourced out of China. Samsung has its own sort of facilities. I believe they've got plants in China, but they also have them in Vietnam. So it's just a matter of sourcing. They save a lot of money on keeping a fairly lean operation. Samsung is this gigantic global corporation, so there's just naturally a lot of overhead.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people always have this assumption where it's like, if it's costs more money, it's definitely better.
Yeah.
And no, it's not true.
Well, just sort of on the note on the processing side, I mentioned that they both have the same chipset, and there is one thing to keep in mind. Lynn brings up in her story is that the OnePlus kind of came under fire for skewing the benchmarks, which Samsung has also done in the past. So, you have to kind of keep that in mind. Overall, these phones are both really fast. They're like using the fastest, latest chip out there. One maybe slightly faster than the other because of individual tweaks, but they're both really good.
I remember the OnePlus 3 was also like pretty hard to get your hands on. Is this the same for the OnePlus 5?
I think they've gotten better with distribution.
Okay.
It's not like that, whatever lottery system or whatever it was.
Yeah, because that's what I was gonna say. That's another thing that you're losing out on is
distribution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Availability,
It's
at
availability.
least,
It's tougher to get. They make fewer of them. Samsung, obviously, you can get them in any carrier store. They just make tons of them, so they're everywhere. So it's if you want one, you can walk down the street and buy one. OnePlus 5, you have to go online.
You go online. You don't get any carrier deals with it either, right?
There are no deals. There's no. It's sort of you're buying it sight unseen, right? Because there's no real store for you to check it out at.
Yeah.
My mind went to terrible places where you can walk down the street and buy one because I'm still thinking about the sex dolls.
Oh, geez.
Imagine if that became like a corner
That's
store.
probably going to be a thing. Like,
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
it won't.
Like
there's got to be a social stigma with
maybe,
kind of keep that from
like
being
obviously
a thing.
they don't sell like fleshlight and dildos at like your corner store, but like there's probably like a sex shop like somewhere close to where you live that you can go to and like buy like one of these.
Man, I live in the burbs. That's less likely.
I'm sure there's a sex store around where you live, man.
Maybe I just haven't looked hard enough.
We don't mean to shame anybody in this. There are more than a few people in the chat that would be like, "That's kind of interesting," and legitimately.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
mean, by no
totally.
means are we shaming.
And
it's
the
just
technology is
awkward to
definitely
talk
interesting,
about.
for sure.
So thanks for bringing that to the table this morning. To how exactly I envisioned
I don't
starting
think
my
it's
day
that
off.
Hey, it's our big story for the day. We want to really focus. I mean, we put a lot of work. Obviously, Rye put a lot of work into that story.
Yeah,
multiple
it's
videos.
actually very interesting and in
very
depth.
well done.
I
So we
should not
wanted
have
to
said
highlight
in
that.
depth. I just want to leave us today with a comment from Razor2048.
Yes.
This is exactly the mentality we should maintain. He says, why get a sex doll when you can just spend far less money building a gaming PC and get an experience that is better than sex? Bless your heart.
Wow.
Bless your heart.
Is he talking about VR?
Call of Duty.
Oh, man, what if they got VR going in with that? And
They are.
no,
They-
stop,
they-
stop.
there is
working on
VR,
that, yeah.
actually.
Stop.
I think that's a future story that we've got
Okay,
going on.
Stop.
All right.
Stop.
All right. If you liked anything you saw or heard here, or were offended, we're sorry. Check us out on CNET. Our podcast is also available on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, and FeedBurner. See y'all tomorrow. Oh, wait, not tomorrow.
No.
Monday.
Nope.
See y'all
Monday.
Monday.
Enjoy your weekend.
Have a
Enjoy
good
your weekend.
Think about sex dolls.
weekend.